What's up and welcome to Ahead of the Curve. I am Jonathan Gelner and thank you for being here. This episode is brought to you by Baseball Cloud. Go to baseballcloud.com to find out how you can have your own data analytics department for your program. Data has a story to tell, and Baseball Cloud gives it a voice. In this episode, I speak with Virginia Commonwealth head baseball coach, Shawn Stiffler. I didn't know much about Coach Stiffler before we got the opportunity to chat, and I was completely blown away by his attention to detail, the culture he's built, and what he is doing to make his players better on and off the field. He truly is all in on player development. You're going to love this episode with Shawn Stiffler. Coach Stiffler, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I just first want to say thank you to the Virginia coaches for having us and listening to us this morning. And you guys make sure you enjoy your breakfast. And the bacon's awesome.
It smells good, right?
Oh, man, it smells fantastic. But talk to us a little bit about, VCU. And so I was doing some research about you guys before I came up here, and I kind of know you, but I wanted to get to know you a little bit better. And something that consistently stood out whenever I was listening and seeing what you guys were putting out, and that's energy. And the word blue collar kept coming up consistently, like several different videos that I was watching. Is that something that you guys intentionally try and instill in your players?
I don't know if you can use the word intentional. I think you start to set your standards. You start to set your culture, and your team starts to gravitate towards an identity one way or another. I think some of it has to do with the region that we're in. Richmond is a blue collar, hardworking town. VCU is a blue collar school. Most of our athletic teams are blue. They're kind of centered around the blue collar mentality. We're not. I don't think we're a school. When you think of the schools in Virginia, I don't know if VCU comes up first. So I don't know if we're always picking first when it comes to the recruiting end of things. So taking on a little bit of that blue collar mentality, I think our guys just kind of gravitate towards that, and I think it becomes very natural. I don't want to take credit necessarily for installing that in our players, but it's certainly something that you're proud of when you hear people speak that way about your program.
Sure. Now, you are speaking after me, and I'm so thankful that I don't have to speak after you. And so, if you don't mind, just give us a little preview of what you're going to be talking about here pretty soon.
Yeah, well, the topic of my speech is going to be called Find Your Different, and I'm just going to try to highlight some things in our program that maybe we have done over the last couple of years that I don't want to call them separators, but maybe we think that are a little bit different. And it's not that we're doing them differently, but I want people to be able to look at things and realize that in everybody's program, regardless if it's in youth baseball, regardless in high school, college, professional, there are certain outliers, numbers, statistics, analytics, culture points that can stand you out and can make you different and can make you even with your competition. And I think one thing at VCU we've done a decent job of is we've tried to keep our focus on the things that we feel like lead to getting our players better and leading us to win. And I'm going to try to focus on that and try to reach the broad spectrum, because it's the Virginia Baseball Coaches Association, not the Virginia College Baseball, the Virginia Professional. And so you have youth coaches here, high school coaches, and college coaches here. So we try to reach across, every field that's here and try to get something for everybody, you hope.
Sure.
To do.
Definitely. And, just off the mic yesterday, we were talking about one of those things, and that was swing in zone percentage.
Yeah.
And that's something that you mentioned that is really important to your program. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I just think as you grow and the technology has gotten so much better now, we're starting to understand things so much better now. Of course, you can't hit what you can't see.
Sure.
We've always known that, but to understand the fact that vision and eyesight and being selective and plate awareness are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
One you need glasses for, maybe the other one can be trained.
Mm-hmm.
I do think zone awareness is something that we can train, and just as I grow as a coach, just understanding that different ways to incorporate that daily into our routines, daily into our thought process, whether it's batting practice or in our development stage. It's a non-negotiable right now, I think, and I actually heard that line in one of your podcasts before, and I love the fact that forcing guys to make decisions is a non-negotiable. And it's something that over the last 3 or 4 years you understand the value of free bases and free bases and extra base hits are probably the number one way to score.
Sure.
And so you got to get guys on base and figure out what pitches you can drive. And so it's become something that daily we're starting to incorporate more and more each day. And we're hoping to measure it a little bit better each year. It's not something you can necessarily measure right away, but it's I think just forcing your guys to make decisions is a big deal.
Definitely. And with baseball being so hard, it's really hard to collect data in a short period of time and say, hey, this is working. And, I'm at the high school level, so I don't know if you see this a lot, but we are starting to incorporate a lot of decisions in practice and having them make these decisions. And I don't think that they've thought about that a whole lot before. And do you see that a lot with your players and especially your incoming freshmen?
Yeah, making decisions on anything, whether it's on the base paths, at the plate.
Sure.
Sometimes even going to class,
right.
You want to. That's what college is about. Is we want to give them opportunities where they do have to test themselves, and make decisions, but get them off of autopilot. I do think there are times when the swing and the swing mechanics is first, and then there are times when the decision making and the compete and the at bat need to come first as well. Okay. And I think you can separate those two. I don't ever want to say that development is secondary. I don't ever want to say that. Obviously, we have good players, okay? And then we develop them, the wins come. But I do think you have to put them in a situation where they have to understand the scenario, understand what the expectations are, understand what this is going to feel like in a game, and have to make decisions accordingly.
Sure.
And then there's times where you have them in the cage and you're really, really just working on some feel, or you just want them to feel the mechanical change. And I think at times separating them, not for long periods of time, because you got to blend them back in, but separating them, isolating them, and I think young people's mindset and mentality right now is wrapped more around quick hitters. 10 minutes this drill, 10 minutes that drill. It's hard to keep them focused on long term a lot of times. Today plus tomorrow plus tomorrow plus tomorrow. You got to keep them in the moment of today. And so, for me, I just think that there is both. There's room for both. You need both, but forcing your young men to have to make decisions and coming to those decisions on their own, sometimes with ownership, is another big deal. Because again, I can tell them till they're blue in the face, they have to have ownership of what that at bat or what that swing looks like.
Right, Jedi mind tricks.
That's
hey, this was
coaching, right?
This was my idea in the first place, but you got it. You got it. So I love it. I really like that a lot. And so tell me if I'm wrong. But I've taken the approach this fall so we get our guys in August, and we have them basically year-round for at least a baseball hour. And the further away from competition we were, the more that we focused on actual swing mechanics. Yep. And the closer that we've gotten to the season, we've started to scale back on, hey, we're going to overload everything. And now we're kind of in the middle. We do a little bit of swing stuff. We do a little bit of decision training. And then in season, we still will. Like you said, we don't want to put development on the back burner, but we still have to, compete and win games.
I agree. Again, I think there is room for everything, especially. But you're right. The further away we are from a contest, the less I want them thinking about necessarily competing versus another team. I want them thinking about competing versus themselves. To be honest with you, okay.
I like that.
If we are exit velocity training, or we're working on overload and underload, if we're working on getting a little bit better angle, a little bit launch angle, if you will, if we're working on changing mechanic, I want them to feel comfortable to, one, fail and not have to worry about the pressure of getting it done for their teammates. But two, we need to measure those things so that the next day, if they swung 97.5 off the tee today, or off the front toss today, or off the machine today, then tomorrow it's 97.8. That's what we're going for. And I think individual competition in the off season is really, really important. And then getting them to flip that mindset of still getting 1% better and getting a little bit better every day during the season, but game competition, and that's where I think for me, really, the decision making has to be over top of the swing at that point.
Sure. Hey, you hit on something that I'm going to talk about tomorrow, and actually a couple things, which is good. I'm on the right track, but with the first one, it's
you're talking about tracking data with the individuals, and it's really hard to continue to do something when you can't necessarily see progress.
Yeah.
So our ultimate goal is to get hits, score runs, and win ball games on the offensive side. At least that's underlying goal.
Absolutely.
And when we're in the off season, we don't do that. Like we can't score runs, we can't get hits, and we're probably not hitting off of a live pitcher. So I think it's really paramount to be able for them to see incremental progress to be able to just keep them motivated. Is that something that you would agree with?
Absolutely. You want to track, you want to be able to grade, you want to be able to look at, because again, I think I don't want to say this generation, every generation wants to know that they're getting better.
Right.
My generation did, and so does this generation. But seeing it to this generation seems to be a little bit more important. And what I suggest, what we try to do is we try to monitor everything. And yesterday, for instance, our guys had their max out squat days, and I think today's generation loves the weight room. One, because the science behind it is very obvious, but two,
definitely,
you go up a pound every couple of weeks.
Yeah,
you see those results, and our guys were so. And I think that's why they get so excited to come in. They see their hard work, and yesterday is like that the pinnacle of what they're trying to do. They're busting through, but also having at the end, one thing we try to do is we try to have a little bit of competition at the end, whether it's who can get the highest. If you have an exit velo of 95 off the bat, then swinging 4 more times above that or at that. Of having some competition at the end just to keep their juices flowing as well. But I think step by step, showing them that process and that progress this time of year is absolutely vital. If you can, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have TrackMan, Rapsoda. You don't have to have these type of things. You can very, very easily set up with strings and ropes, different angles in your cages. Pocket radar guns are very inexpensive right now. Just anything you can use to measure anything or make something. You got to hit 5 out of 6 balls above this angle or what have you. And I think any of those things at every level is huge.
Well, you're tracking what's important to you.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
You hit on several different things that I really liked, and we were texting back and forth. I think either Tuesday or maybe Wednesday night, and you said, "I'd love to talk with you, but I can't miss squat competition day." And I'm all in on that. So you guys love the weight room, you love competition. Are there any other things that come to mind that you guys do in the off season just to keep those juices flowing and to keep it competitive?
Yeah, we this time of year for us is really where we get into our individual development, but our team development right now is more on a culture standpoint.
Okay,
we're going to put our guys in different situations once or so a week, whether it's, we do an obstacle course a week ago. It's called Ram Sanity, and it's kind of like our Navy SEALs night where we set up an obstacle course at the Diamond, and it's 30 minutes of pain for our guys. But it's amazing how much they love it, just because it has an individual champion, has a team champion. It has, guys are suffering. They have to work through things. They have to persevere. We just got done doing some personality assessments right now. And, and to be honest with you, that's more for me, maybe, to continue to learn how to reach. I keep getting older. They keep staying the same age, and to help reach, but also to understand our strengths and our weaknesses, with each other as well. We've had, in the years past, I've used a company called The Program, where we've had some military leadership come in and just forcing our guys to communicate when they don't feel comfortable, and forcing our guys to be vulnerable. I think it's a huge process, and not just from a baseball standpoint. I'm a big believer we're developing these guys. We're developing them to send them out in the world as winners. And some of these guys are going to be doctors someday. And today is the second birthday of my youngest daughter. And
happy birthday!
Thank you. 2 years ago today, we found out she was going to have open heart surgery, and her cardiologist here at UVA was a former baseball player.
Okay.
Somebody taught that guy how to win.
Yeah.
Somebody taught that guy how to show compassion, how to be able to communicate with people. And when you and your wife are frightened, and scared about your young, and he came in and the way he showed, I believe that stuff gets developed through coaching. And so that's what we kind of work on a little bit more this time of year to keep and that's probably where I step in the most right now in our program. I have great assistant coaches, and they're in the cages with the guys. They're in the bullpens with the guys right now. I think it's my job right now to continue to push the program from a leadership standpoint, maybe on some of those aspects that don't necessarily always show up on the field, but maybe off the field in the future as husbands, business owners, fathers.
Sure. I think that the more that I've been a coach, the more that I've firmly believe that exact same thing. And we had Coach O'Connor and Coach Maneri up here talking about that same thing yesterday. So obviously success leaves clues. But what are some different ways that you get them out of their comfort zone? You mentioned that you guys do some Navy SEAL obstacle course stuff, but I found that just getting them to speak to each other or speak in public is a big deal.
100%. We will do skits, and believe it or not,
cool.
It's amazing how it's the first time I realized that they're actually listening to me, because when they make fun of me, I can tell them. But we'll do skits. Now we have 4 core values: RAMS, responsibility, attack, mental toughness, and service. Those are the core values of our program.
Okay.
And so we break them up in groups, and they have to do a skit about one of those core values. Mm-hmm. And then after they're done with that, I let them do a skit roasting any part of the program that they want to. But getting them up in front of a group where they have to explain themselves, they have to talk about themselves, just forcing them to do that. Communication is one of the pillars of our program, and forcing young people right now to have to communicate, even when it's uncomfortable for them, even when it may be that you're going up and you're holding someone accountable, and you're asking them to do a little bit more than what you need. That on good teams. Right. You need that on good teams. And so I agree. Anything you can do to put your team up where they have to, one, they can make fun of themselves, make fun of each other, relax a little bit, I think is huge at this time of year. And we're just trying to pass that on. And the more you can ask a young man to present or be in front of the team and show some leadership and spread that leadership around, because you don't know who it's going to fall on. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, many times we think that's our guy, that's our leader. He does everything right. He's the guy we want. And maybe that guy doesn't really want to be that guy. And you don't realize that there might be another guy in your locker room who's not a huge statistical contributor. But when he walks into the locker room, he sets the tone. And so pass that leadership on, and then let other guys, let people participate in that.
Well, and, you've hit on a couple of things that I really like. And, the more that I get into coaching, the more I think that communication may be the most important part of being a leader. Because I think it's the foundation of everything else. You and I, or myself, I could be the smartest guy in the room, but if I don't share it, if I don't communicate it in an effective way, then it doesn't matter.
That's right.
And so I really like that. But also, we're trying to meet the kids where they're at. And, one of the takeaways that I've got with the kids is we do a lot of group chat stuff. Yep. They're constantly on their phones. And so I'm trying to send them just little nuggets of info every time I read it, and they'll send some stuff back. And, maybe I won't have a chance to get to speak with them in person every single day, but they're always on their phones, right? So we may as well meet them where they're at a little bit, and we can get them out of their comfort zone. They can get us out of their comfort zone, and try to balance that a little bit.
I think that's a conflict for me, is between understanding kids have not changed.
Right.
Generations change.
Sure.
What I mean? And so things just change, and things, it doesn't make it good or bad, it just makes it different. And one of the things that I always struggle with is, do you meet them halfway in technology, or do we force them to put their phones away? And what I've found is both are correct. You have to find that balance. And we have one rule: there's no cell phones allowed in the locker. No cell phones allowed at team meals. Okay. But at the same time, I've quit fighting about earrings at times, and I've quit fighting about, on the bus with phones and things like that. So you have to, it's a push and take. Yes, there's times where I want them to put their phones down, and I want them to sit at a table, eat a meal, and talk to each other, and really find things out about each other. And then there's other times, like you said, I'm using my phone to connect with them. Yeah. Here is something that I saw on Twitter. This relates to you. Boom, send it off to them, and they're slide into their DMs. And so I think you have to walk that tightrope. And as an older coach, you're trying to figure that out. But the fact is, the young people, they want to no matter what, kids still want a relationship with you. They still want to be led, and they still want to get better. You got to keep that in mind.
Oh, and that is something that probably won't ever change
Never
with
change.
kids. Well, Coach, we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I would like to just kind of open it up and ask you, we're here at the first annual VBCA, and this has been an awesome event so far.
Cool.
And I think it will only get better as time goes on. But is there anything that you'd like to, tell our listeners on the podcast or tell our VBCA members right here?
I think if your state or if your region has something like this, go.
Mm-hmm.
Go. The mix between newer coaches, older coaches, styles, again, I think everybody's right. And I follow so many new young coaches have so much data and have so much information out there. And I would just tell every older coach like me, listen to those guys. Give them an opportunity to speak. They know what they're talking about. Interact with those guys. They have information that we never dreamed of.
Mm-hmm.
The flip side, all those young guys out there. Well, when you were in school getting smart, that old coach wasn't out here getting dumb either.
Right.
And those guys
Sure.
have that experience and learn from them as well. If you have something like this that you can join, do it, because it is by far, I think, for me, one of the most rewarding parts of our business is being able to learn and connect and sell. Like today, the biggest thing that I'm thankful for is I get to represent the 35 guys in our program and our alumni, and in that I'm very humbled to be able to do that. I'm humbled to stand up here for VCU. So to be able to sell your brand and your product and learn from so many great coaches is, you have to do it. You have to join as many of these things as you can and keep learning, because I'll tell you what, this game in the last 5 years, I think I've probably learned more about the game in the last 5 years than I did my first 30 years.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Isn't it funny? So continue to push that envelope and just continue to keep learning.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure today, and best of luck
awesome.
this season.
Thank you for
and
what you do.
our Twitter listeners, appreciate it. Thanks again, Coach. Appreciate it.
Man.
Thank you for listening to Ahead of the Curve. Before you go, I'd love to be able to get in touch with you, and we have several different ways of doing so. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at AOTC_podcast. You can join the AOTC Coaches Facebook group, and if you want to be a part of the mini clinic emails, both of those links are listed below. If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a rating or review to help others find and stay ahead of the curve.